Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Notre Dame football fans. Whenever you're tuning into this show, wherever you are, watching live, watching back, listen to this as a podcast, whatever the case may be, thank you so much for making us part of your day. I'm Mike Singer. With me today, Jack Soble and Tyler Horka, Blue and Gold beat writers. This week's Notre Dame six-pack show, we're going to do exactly what you come to expect on this show. 6 Notre Dame topics, and we will take 6 minutes to discuss each of them. And this show is brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. And Academy proudly honors our brave military and first responders for everything they do to protect our nation and serve local communities. Their unmatched dedication and countless sacrifices deserve recognition. From October 19th through November 11th, Academy is giving them a salute with 10% off sports and outdoor purchases at local Academy stores and online at academy.com/discount. Exclusions apply. Again, thank you, Academy, for sponsoring the Notre Dame six-pack show. All right, let's dive into the show here. Tyler, how bad is Boston College? Like, I know they played well against Louisville or whatever, but like, what are you expecting for the Notre Dame in this contest? Like, what would be a good result for the Irish?
I think Notre Dame needs to win by 4 touchdowns, 30 points, somewhere in that range. And it's very doable to win by more than that in this game, too. We've seen Notre Dame in the last couple of seasons, when Marcus Freeman changed the expectation level for his teams and his program during his tenure, which was last year, making it as far as they did. Like, we've seen some of these teams in the last 2 seasons, Notre Dame beat better teams worse than that. 4 touchdowns, 30 points. So, I mean, it's happened this year where Notre Dame beats Arkansas 56-13, or I don't know, Boise State's decent, like 28-7 was a pretty good win there. I think Notre Dame, Jack, needs to win this game like a lot to a little, like 50-10. And now game flow sometimes dictates like a lesser margin of victory than that. Like Boston College can get some garbage time, if you will. I forget what we're calling that, but all in all, like if Notre Dame's not up, let's put it this way. If Notre Dame's not up by at least 30 points at some point in this game, I will have think that at least something somewhere along the way happened where you're like, this could have been a better result.
Yeah, I don't want to put an exact number on it, but it should look convincing. Like, I would like to see Notre Dame kind of sort out some of the issues and answer some of the questions that we've been asking about them in the past couple weeks, namely short yardage. Like, they've tried, CJ Carr on QB power, QB counter. They've tried Wildcat. They've tried the Matt Jeffrey Cooper Flanagan package. They've tried throwing the ball. Nothing has worked, and certainly nothing has worked consistently. So I would like to see Notre Dame try to find a solution that works. I don't know how convinced we'll be that they've found a consistent solution because Boston College's defense is so horrendous, but would like to see them find a solution that we think might be translatable to better teams then, and just what we've come to expect for Notre Dame in blowouts, like you said, just domination. Like, they are good at particularly going on the road. They're good at going on the road and taking care of business against an opponent that's worse than them. They're not gonna be complacent off a bye. They're 5-1 now under Marcus Freeman off a bye. The one loss, of course, is Texas A&M. They are, if anything, they might be like even more consistent going on the road. Like, when they've had letdown performances, they've generally been at home. I guess there's something about a Marcus Freeman coaching style that's conducive to playing well against bad teams on the road. And I'd like to see Kenny Minchey start the second half. A little bit of Blake Hebert, a little bit of Tyler Buckner.
Yeah, you were getting to something there that I think is worth talking about. I forget the exact phrasing that Marcus Freeman used after the USC game, but he was asked in the context of the rain and the elements, like the unpredictability of it. And Marcus basically said, we love when things are unpredictable. We love when we have to be able to lock in and just say, I don't care about any of the external factors. Like, this is an external factor in this game. Well, I guess maybe it's internal, but like how bad Boston College is, Notre Dame can't do anything about that. So if the worst version of Boston College shows up, so be it. That's what the Eagles are doing. The best version of Notre Dame needs to show up, though, and like make Boston College look that bad. And I think Notre Dame, what I was saying earlier, has done that. Like, I get it last year, Navy, and we're going to talk a lot about the midshipmen in the next 10 days, but like Notre Dame made Navy look a lot worse than Navy was last year. And they took advantage of some gifts as turnovers. But Jack, to your point that you were making, I think Notre Dame has been so good about going on the road and just taking any situation and saying, we don't care like what the circumstances are here. We don't care what the situation is. We're going to do us, and our good enough is going to be way better than anything that you can throw at us. And I think that's particularly true in this game because to Mike's point at the beginning of all this, Boston College is really bad. Boston College doesn't even know who they're starting at quarterback in this game. They have some other injuries that's going to hamper them a little bit. Notre Dame needs to do more than show up because that would go against everything that we're saying here if they just showed up and tried to sleepwalk to a win. But if Notre Dame shows up and does what it usually does, which is play really well in these road games, coming off byes, all those other things, then yeah, my expectation for the Irish in this game is to roll pretty easily.
Yeah, I don't think it makes much of a difference whether they win by 40 or 50 per se, or even like getting to the 30s range. Like that can be dependent on so many factors that I don't, like I said, I don't really want to put a number on it. I would like to see a bounce back performance from CJ Carr. I think I'm interested to see how he responds from his first, quote unquote bad game. Like, wasn't great against Miami, but he definitely surpassed expectations in that game. This is the first real, not first real adversity, but like the first time he's had to respond to a poor performance, and I'm very curious to see how he does there. But yeah, like we said earlier, like Boston College can't throw the ball, can't throw on the ball, and can't play defense. Other than that, Mrs. Lincoln, how is the play? I would expect Notre Dame to have this game over by halftime.
It can't stop the run either. I think that's a huge thing. Louisville ran for, even if Boston College kept it closer than a lot of people thought, Louisville ran for 317 yards and was never going to lose that football game. If Notre Dame runs for 317 yards, then I would think that Aeneas Williams has a lot of those, maybe even Nolan James. Like this thing should be over early.
To answer a few questions, yes, Horka is getting a running start in No Shave November. My internet is fine, knock on wood. I repaired my laptop over the weekend, and I can definitely see a difference in the camera quality, so that's good. So we should all be ready to go.
Maybe I'll do a hard restart, a reset, shave on the 31st, and then just see what it looks like at the end. It's not going to look like Mike's. That's a solid.
I think I'm going to
goatee.
do the same. I think I'm
we
going to.
We don't talk enough about Mike's goatee. It's solid.
At this point, we're heading into November. You might as well just keep it going.
Yeah, that's true.
I just can't. I can't get the sideburns. I would love the full, but it just won't happen for me. Anyways, how about Brian Kelly getting fired on Sunday? Not a surprise, but sort of a surprise in the grand scheme of things, but not a surprise. I mean, did we really think that Brian Kelly was going to work out at LSU, Tyler?
Maybe more than he did. I think that's fair to say. Like, he could have done more. Now, it became pretty clear that he had a ceiling there, and maybe we need to talk more about the changes in college football and like the evening of the playing field or the parity, whatever you want to call it. It's not the same. Like, college football is not the same today as when Ed Orgeron led LSU to a national championship in 2019, and that team had 15 NFL draft picks or whatever it was. Joe Burrow became the best quarterback in the country, like best player in the country. You could say that maybe Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson were up there with him for like best player in the country status. It was a ridiculous roster. It's a little more even now, and I get it. Like Michigan even lately, and some of the Georgia teams have had crazy number of NFL draft picks. So in that regard, it's sort of the same. But to me, it became clear that college football changed, and that changed LSU a little bit. And it wasn't snap your fingers and Brian Kelly's going to win a national championship at LSU just because Ed Orgeron did, and Nick Saban did, and Les Miles. Like it wasn't that. And I think people thought it would be that in 2021. So LSU people got excited because they were like, oh yeah, 2 years ago we won a national championship with Ed Orgeron, and now we have Brian Kelly, winningest head coach in Notre Dame history, if you include the vacated ones. Like, sign me the heck up. Jack, I think college football has changed so drastically since then, and kudos to Notre Dame because Marcus Freeman has changed along with it, and he's changed Notre Dame in that regard. And Brian Kelly was a stick in the mud in Baton Rouge, and now he doesn't have a job. I think that's just kind of the way these last 3.5 years went.
I think it's a really good point about college football changing and the type of coach that you need changing, and Notre Dame being ahead of the curve on that, and LSU very much not. It is crazy though that like Brian Kelly is the first LSU head coach in my lifetime not to win a national championship. Saban, Miles, Orgeron, that is unbelievable that streak has gone on for the whole century at this point, the whole quarter century. He was a poor culture fit from the beginning. I think everyone knew that back then. The whole Ma family thing. All of it, pretty much everything about Brian Kelly was a poor culture fit for LSU. That's not why he got fired, but it certainly didn't help. I think it certainly you could make an argument that the poor culture fit thing sped up the timeline in that they were less willing to give him a chance to fix it. But this was a broken program at this point. They had 4 years. If anything, they got farther away from national championship in each of those years. I certainly don't blame them for wanting a change. I certainly wouldn't want to be an LSU fan right now after watching the governor's press conference earlier today, because that's a bad situation. I would be kind of surprised if they get the higher rate at this point. But no, change needed to happen. And from a Notre Dame standpoint, it's a little bit vindicating. We'll talk about this a little bit later. It might not be as vindicating if Notre Dame didn't completely nail his replacement.
Yeah, so Michael Lynch a minute ago says LSU needs a full rebuild. The irony in that is that's what they needed when they hired Kelly, because Ed Orgeron in 2 seasons, or the better part of 2 seasons after winning that natty, that thing had completely gotten away from them. And Kelly came in, he did everything different, right? He fired the entire staff. And I know a lot of people are saying he should have kept that strength coach. I don't think that's ever been more evident with what Texas A&M is doing right now. It's just like, they needed the rebuild then, and you thought Kelly was going to do all of these things and do them right, but they lost all the big games. They lost pretty much all of their season openers until this year against Clemson. And by the way, Clemson is not very good this year. So it's like every little thing, or turned out to be big things, that you thought Kelly was going to do that Orgeron didn't do in those last couple of years, Kelly didn't do them. And the recruiting thing is there. Like, that's never been his favorite. He loves to play golf. That is his favorite. And all these numbers come out about how much golf he's played. Jack, you made a really good point. I think it got so easy to turn on Brian Kelly that at that point, what the fans are saying is different than the administration and the players and whatnot, but it had come to a pretty clear consensus to me that it was not very easy to play for Brian Kelly and to be a part of Brian Kelly's program there. And when that's the case and you're losing those big games, see you later, man. Like, this thing has crashed in on you and you're without a job now.
Yeah, I think you make a good point about the golfing thing, because the coach that Brian Kelly is and always has been is no longer enough to win. Like, you, as a head coach, you need to recruit, because not only that, you need to be a player's coach, because you need to re-recruit your roster every year. So it's kind of impossible not to be a player's coach right now in college football. You need to be more likable than Brian Kelly was. You need to be more popular with the donors than Brian Kelly was. You need to work harder on the recruiting trail than Brian Kelly was. It's just like what a head coach was required to do to succeed from 2010 to 2021 is just so different than what it is from 2021 to 2025. And I think that's something that, and this is what always happens when athletic directors go out and they just hunt big names with their head coaching searches. You're worried more about winning the press conference than you are about winning games. And I think that's what LSU fell into that trap.
Did I mute the video? I did. Okay, so that's why the bell's not working, because it's not working. Anyways, Jack, tell us about Jason Anye, his resurgence this season. This was a topic you wanted to discuss. So what's kind of on your mind with this?
Yeah, so we actually talked to Jason Anye for the first time yesterday, for the first time since he left the team last September. We were told that the interview would only be football. I did not get that memo, so I asked him a couple questions about his absence. Nothing hard hitting. I asked him how difficult it was being away from the team last year, and did he think he'd be able to come back? He did think he would be able to come back, but he said that the most difficult part was being away from the team when everyone else was making a national championship run. That was obviously hard on him. As far as football wise, though, like he has undergone an odyssey of itself this season from the highs of winning the starting job out of camp and the offseason he had, and everyone was saying that Jason Anye is a whole new football player, to the Miami game, which he admitted against Miami that he did not play his best football. He said, let me find the quote. He said that he watched the film, didn't feel like he played the way he wanted to. He said it might have been a confidence thing, whatever you want to call it. Next couple weeks he was playing, but wasn't playing too well. He started to get better against Boise State, and NC State got the starting job back. Then against USC, I mean, he puts it all together, and he dominates that game from start to finish. It's just like someone Notre Dame has always believed in and always wanted to succeed, and just never got over the hump. And it really does feel like he's getting over the hump right now, Tyler.
Yeah, and you have to keep in mind how tough that must have been for him to go out there against Miami with everything that had happened to him in the previous year. Like, everyone is saying, yep, he's going to ball out, no questions about it. He had the best fall camp of his career. Marcus Freeman even said that during camp. And then, like, you still have to go out there and do it in that game. And like, there's nothing against Jason Anye because there's so many people from the Notre Dame defense that didn't go out there and do it in that game. So then you have that in the back of your mind when you're playing against Texas A&M and even Purdue and so on, that I'm glad he finally had the moment that he did against USC because he was phenomenal in that game, and NC State as well. Like, he the last couple of weeks, to your point, Jack, he's come along and now he's had a bye week to think about the reverse of what I was just saying, where you have to think like, oh man, I wasn't who I wanted to be against Miami. Now you can say though, oh yeah, I was who I wanted to be in these last couple of games. And I can be that guy for the entire month of November. And if he is, then Notre Dame's defense is going to be so much better for it because if you listen to Marcus Freeman on Monday, it doesn't sound like Gabriel Rubio is coming back anytime soon. So there is a little bit of an opening for Anye to be like, okay, yeah, my buddy Gabriel Rubio is really good at this, but I can be really good at this too, and kind of not just keep us afloat, but keep us really good on the interior of the defensive line. He was so good run stopping in that USC game that, like, I think he takes that forward, and like, he can finally be that guy that Marcus Freeman was talking about. And that's what it sounded like Marcus said on Monday too, was like, I know I pumped this guy up then, but I'm going to keep pumping him up now because it doesn't have to be like a roller coaster with him. It can really be a consistent thing, and Notre Dame would be better for that. And I think Jason Anye mentally, Jack, you spent more time with him this week than I did. It seems like he's prepared to be that guy for the rest of this season.
Yeah, mentally it seemed like he's in a great place. I mean, he was way more outgoing and talkative than I remember him early in the 2024 season. You mentioned Gabriel Rubio. If you really want to smile, listen to what Anya said about Rubio. Unprompted, he was asked what was the first day of spring practice like. He said, "I'll honestly say it was good. I had Gabe here. Gabe's really like my rock in a sense. If I have Gabe, I'm fine." Just really, really cool to hear about their relationship. And now Rubio's hurt, and Anya's the one who's got to pick him up. And he takes pride in that more than anything else. It's also a good reminder that development isn't linear. That's one of my favorite phrases to write when I'm talking about these guys, but I feel like I forget it too so often. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of dismissed Anya after the first game. I watched Miami tape, and I'm like, he's just the same guy he was before. Nothing seems to have changed, and slowly but surely, I mean, he got better and better and better, and he played the best game of his life against USC. So mea culpa on my part, but it's a good reminder to myself, to you guys as writers, to everyone as fans. Like, guys are going to have ups and downs. You're not going to just develop on a linear path, and that's something that Jason Anye has really embodied throughout his time at Notre Dame. And I think, for what it's worth, to Rick's comment, he was asked whether or not he felt like there was a chance he could pursue a 6th year. He did not say no. So I'm not sure where that would come from, but he left that door open.
Yeah, and to the second part of Rick's point, there's a lot of tread left on those tires. I know that's
Yeah,
more of a
100%.
running back thing or someone who takes hits, but giving the hits is also physically demanding, and he's a guy that probably has a lot left in that tank, so to speak, because he hasn't played as much football as you would think a 5-year guy has. But hey, man, even if you're the latest of bloomers, just blooming like does something for you. And I think we saw a blossoming for Jason Anye in that USC game.
Folks, please hit the thumbs up on this video. Subscribe to the Blue and Gold YouTube channel for more content. Jack, let's talk some bold predictions for Notre Dame in their November stretch and into the playoffs. What's on your mind, man? What predictions do you have for us?
I have 3 written down. You want to go back and forth, Tyler?
Sure.
All right, so my first one, Leonard Moore wins the Thorpe Award for best defensive back in the country. I think he'd be the front runner right now if he had played in all 7 games, but what he has done in the 5 games that he's played, shut down Mekhi Lemon, who's the most productive receiver in the country. 3 interceptions in 5 games, which is one of, if not the highest rates in the country. The work he's done tackling and in the run game, he tackles like a linebacker. The only one with an argument is Caleb Downs, and I think Leonard Moore has been what he's done this year has been more impressive, especially the Lemon game. So Leonard Moore wins the Thorpe Award.
And I think that is a pretty bold prediction, if you will, because I actually don't know if anyone takes this into account when they're choosing and voting on this. But like, to me, it's like when you miss a game or 2 games, it's like, oh, he can't win it. But if he plays 10 games the way that you just described, dude, give him the trophy. Like there's no minimum requirement, I think, in games played or whatever. And 10 is probably meeting that. So yeah, I like that. I like that pick. Here's one for the team. I don't think Notre Dame plays a game that's within 1 score for the rest of the way. And I know they have to go to Pitt, but I look at these other games, man. Boston College, we were just talking about a 30-plus point win. Navy was great last year. Notre Dame went away from home and throttled them. They're good again this year, so maybe that's one you look at. I just mentioned Pitt, Syracuse, and Stanford. Like I think the month of November looks a lot like it did a year ago for Notre Dame when Notre Dame was just basically beating the brakes off of everybody. So no more 1-score games, and even the USC game wasn't a 1-score game. So if you look at it, they will not have played a 1-score game since the A&M game, right? Yeah, that's a lot of not very close football games. But like I said, Jack, that's the way it was last year, and I think that this year has quickly become a mirror spit and image of what we saw last year.
My second bold prediction, Kenny Minchie helps Notre Dame win a game at some point.
Oh, I love this one.
That can be like Angeli last year against Penn State, where CJ Carr gets hurt for a drive. That can be, obviously, hope this doesn't happen, but that can be CJ Carr suffers a more serious, or at least serious enough that it knocks him out of a game, injury, and Minchie has to finish the game. Or this could be, late arrival of the Minchie package that we talked about preseason. We haven't seen yet, but I don't think the team has closed the door on that by any stretch. So
yeah,
Kenny Minchie helps Notre Dame win a game at some point, where his performance is one of the reasons they won the game.
Mike Denbrock so clearly is apt to try anything in that short yardage that I think that it could be on tap for Kenny Minchie. By the way, my mind went somewhere in this, coming in for one play and helping a team win. Go back and look at the last week's slate of games to see a quarterback who did that. That's all Kenny Minchie needs. I'm not going to say what game it was, where it was, who was playing, but that's all Kenny Minchie needs is a moment like that. Moving on, Jaden Greathouse comes back from his hamstring injury, especially if Notre Dame makes the college football playoff, and looks, at least in one game or one point in time, one sequence, I don't care, like the guy that everybody fell in love with last year against Penn State and against Ohio State. I think he has a moment. Jack, the last time we saw this guy, he made one of the more incredible catches I've ever seen. I think we need to talk about it more. That Arkansas catch on the sideline to get one foot down, like the talent is there. I guarantee you he's getting hungrier by missing all of these games. I think Jaden Greathouse comes back at some point in this 2025 season and gives Notre Dame fans a moment to remember, a game to remember, a sequence like that shows like, yep, I'm still that guy.
I like game to remember there. I think that's a good one. My third and final bold prediction, Notre Dame wins a CFP game on the road. Notre Dame goes on the road as the lower seed in the game and wins. This is something that I don't believe any team did last year. I think correct me if I'm wrong, but I think all the home teams won the first round game. So Notre Dame would be either the first or one of the first teams to win a college ball playoff game in someone else's stadium. I like the way Notre Dame matches up with a lot of these teams that we could see as the 5 through 8 seeds. Aside from the top three, I mean the top three being Ohio State, Texas A&M, and Indiana in any order. I'm not sure there are a ton of great teams that we've seen in college football right now. And also going back to the point about Mark Freeman loving going on the road, I think there is nothing he would love more than to take his team to someone else's house and play a game in December. So I like Notre Dame winning a CFP game on the road.
I'll do mine at the very end here because I want to add on to what you were saying there. Notre Dame would be a prime pick to be that first road team to win a CFP game, because if you look at the other teams last year, Indiana was so early on. Like, it was the first year of their, oh, we're good. Like, this year, it's a completely different vibe for Indiana. Who else went on the road? SMU was never going to win at Penn State. Clemson is the team that snuck into the college football playoff with 3 wins. They weren't going to beat a team that I'm not going to mention on this podcast. And Tennessee was the only one that was like good and you thought was going to win that game.
Well, and Tennessee was kind of the Ohio State revenge game food. They just ran into train in that one.
That was the beginning. The beginning of the Ohio State national championship video is losing to Michigan. But if you had another good choice, it was, okay, everyone thinks Tennessee is going to beat us, but let's just beat the brakes off of them. That was like a huge moment for them. My third and final bold prediction: Boubacar Traore is going to break Isaiah Foskey's single season sack record.
Oh, that is bold.
I think he's on pace, honestly, so maybe not that bold, but like
doesn't Justin Tuck have the sack record?
I know Foskey has the Foskey has both, does he?
I actually looked this up earlier this week. Tuck has single season at 13. Foskey has career. 13.
All right, now it's bold then.
Now it's really bold.
Now it's bold. I'm still going Traore. I think he's going to have a couple 2-sack games. Like, I think it's coming.
If Notre Dame plays like 15 to 16 games, he's on pace.
Yeah.
In a 13-game season, he's just short. I think he's on pace for 12.
I would like, bold prediction. Traore does it in 13 games.
Mark with glasses says Jack's predictions were bolder, but watch Mike come in off the top ropes with a crazy prediction. Notre Dame has an offensive lineman score a touchdown. Boom. There it is.
I love that. That's the best bold prediction of the day.
Right off the dome, too.
I like that.
Jack, you wrote a column. I really liked Freeman appearing on hot boards across the country. I will chime in later if I need to, but I'm hoping you guys cover my thoughts on it. If you follow me on Twitter, I had a tweet about this. But Jack, tell us about this column. And yeah, Freeman appearing on, when I say hot boards, it's like, all right, Penn State opening, here's the names to know, or Florida opening, or LSU, and Freeman's appearing on these articles from Pete Nakos and on 3 Likes. So that's what I mean by hot boards. But Jack, I'll give you the floor.
Yeah, I basically wrote that Freeman's name appearing on hot boards isn't going to stop anytime soon. It might slow down if and when he turns down the LSU job, kind of like, we saw Dan Lanning's name on every hot board 2 years ago, and then he turned down Alabama, and then people are like, oh, he's probably not leaving Oregon after that. I think Notre Dame and Oregon are kind of similar in that, like, obviously they're great jobs for extremely different reasons, but they're great jobs in ways the SEC and old school Big Ten don't realize. They think like, oh, Notre Dame's obsolete. Oh, Oregon's a flash in the pan, but they don't realize how well a good coach can, or they don't realize how much a good coach can get out of them. And that's obviously true with Notre Dame. Freeman is as equipped to get more out of Notre Dame than anywhere else as any coach in the country. I think the way he embraces the academic standards, the way he embraces like what a Notre Dame kid is, and the way he identifies and goes after those kids. So I don't think his name's going to come off hot boards anytime soon, but that's a good thing for Notre Dame because Notre Dame has the coach everyone wants to get.
I'll go this route with this. Lane Kiffin is also a coach that seems like everyone wants to get. And here's the difference between Notre Dame and Marcus Freeman and Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin. It's when you say, oh, this is flattering, like from a Notre Dame perspective, this is flattering. Everyone wants him. It's fine, though. He's a Notre Dame man. He's going to want to stay there. that all sounds way more true and rings truer than, oh yeah, Lane Kiffin wants to be at Ole Miss for the rest of the time, and this is where he's thriving there. Why would he leave? Well, he's already in the South. He could go to a place at Florida or LSU that has greater resources than Mississippi. And Marcus Freeman, on the other hand, just like is a good fit for Notre Dame. It's actually true when you say that. He loves the national recruiting thing. He's embraced being independent. He loves playing this schedule where Notre Dame's all over the place for the reasons that we mentioned earlier in this show. Like, put Marcus Freeman on an airplane and tell him to go win a game at Yankee Stadium or MetLife Stadium or, Hard Rock. I know it didn't happen this year, but he won a game at Hard Rock last year in the playoff. Like, he loves that stuff, and Notre Dame does that stuff all the time. Lane Kiffin, meanwhile, could snap his fingers and be back in Florida in 2 seconds, and it would make sense. So there's a complete difference in these hot board mentionings when it's a guy like Kiffin versus a guy like Freeman. And it's not like this is a Kiffin versus Freeman thing, but they're two of the hotter names on these hot boards, if you will. And it's just like there's a sense of calm with Freeman in South Bend right now. And I wrote that can change on a dime because the Brian Kelly thing changed on a dime, not just at LSU, but when he left here, Notre Dame, that all happened so quickly. So it can happen quickly for Freeman too. And you have to have at least a little bit of brain space to think that maybe he would leave. But I put it this way on our message board, Jack. It's so hard for anyone to stay anywhere forever. Like, even Saban didn't do that. He bounced around a little bit. He found where he needed to be in the end and he retired there. But like, Marcus Freeman is young. If he ends up somewhere else, whether it be the NFL or his alma mater or any place, I would not be shocked. But I would be shocked if it happened now, because I think what he has in Notre Dame right now is what he needs. And it's a really good thing going for him and the Irish right now.
No, I completely agree. I think he's the kind of guy who will want to finish what he started. And to be clear, like, we can't promise he won't leave. Like, we don't know that for a fact. We can give you all the reasons why we don't think it's logical for him to leave, or why we don't think he will. Here also, so I think it's also worth going over like the specific reasons that teams want Freeman beyond just, he's won a lot of games. He is a tireless recruiter. He is a player's coach, which is essential. Like I said before, in an era where you have to re-recruit your roster every year. He is a forward thinker on several fronts, like NIL, transfer portal, analytics, sports science. He's proven he can adapt to changes in the sport. He identifies and attracts quality assistants. This is a really important one that people don't talk about enough. He knows how to fix his team's issues in season. Like, he's fixed a broken offense and a broken defense in back-to-back years and made them quality units. And that's imperative at a time when 1 or 2 losses doesn't kill your chances at a championship. I feel like that's more important now than it's ever been. And he can beat the nation's best at a level previous coaches have not been able to, including Kelly.
No, and then like you mentioned at the beginning of that, here's everything in addition to winning games. By the way, he wins games too. Like, the record's been really good in his 4 years, even with the head scratchers. Like, eliminate the head scratchers. And I know you can't do that because they happened. And by the way, he's learned from those. There's another reason, like, he's learned from losing games that you shouldn't lose. And
it has been 417 days since his last head scratcher, to be clear.
Yeah. More and more, he's distancing himself from those. And in the meantime, keeps racking up ranked victories. He's 15-7 in ranked games against ranked opponents. Brian Kelly at LSU was 5-11. And there's more food for thought there, by the way. Notre Dame has played way more ranked games than LSU during the last 3.5 seasons. A lot of that was Notre Dame got 4 in the college football playoff. But hey, you have to make the college football playoff and win games in it to rack up ranked victories that way. Freeman has done that. He did it last year. Kelly never did that at LSU.
One quick thought. Just because Freeman is on hot boards doesn't mean he's interested in the jobs. So, like, don't cry clickbait that LSU wants Marcus Freeman, like, because it's just the fact of the matter. I think all these articles are pretty much saying, like, Freeman's it's a long shot that Freeman goes. I personally think there are 2 things that Freeman would leave Notre Dame for. It's if Ohio State is to open up at some point, that's his alma mater and obviously a big job, or whatever the point is that Freeman wants to try out the NFL. I mean, never thought Kelly would leave for LSU, so never say never, but that's my opinion on the matter. So. Last but certainly not least, let's kind of talk around college football. Notre Dame had a bye week. So I'm sure you guys were locked in on watching games from around the country. So anything stand out to you guys looking around the sport from a Notre Dame lens? Tyler, I'll give you the floor.
Yeah, in terms of last week, I mean, the A&M thing, what prompted Kelly's firing was probably the story of the week. Because there was definitely a part of me, Jack, that was like, okay, A&M's better than LSU this year, but they've never been able to beat the Tigers in Baton Rouge. And like, it can't keep snowballing on Kelly like this, can it? Turns out it did. And A&M proved that it is much better than LSU, not just a little bit better than LSU. So that absolutely stuck out. I think Alabama and Oregon being in close games against teams that you thought they would have probably have beaten by more stood out to me a little bit. Probably more Alabama because they had to come back in that game, whereas Oregon like just methodically beat Wisconsin down, and you're not going to beat everybody by 30. It just doesn't happen. You still win that game by 14. So those are probably the things that stick out to me. And then I was able to watch Ole Miss Oklahoma a little bit actually, but my take or hot take on that game is like Oklahoma's probably going to end up with 4 or 5 losses because their schedule is hard and they're just not as good as we thought in those first 4 or 5 games that we won out of the chute. And then I still think Ole Miss is what it is, Jack. Like as much as I just talked up Lane Kiffin and he can go wherever he wants probably because he's the hot name in this cycle. I think under Lane Kiffin, Ole Miss is the 10-2 really, really fun team, going to win some cool games, but probably never going to win the SEC type of team. So those are kind of the 4 biggest games that I had my eye on over the weekend.
I don't know if we should assume that with Ole Miss right now.
He could prove me wrong for sure.
Yeah.
Ole Miss could prove me wrong.
With A&M, first of all, you should get those Texas State and 4 jokes out while you can because you only got about another week to do that.
Are they 8-0 now?
They are 8-0 now. Yeah, they're clearly legit. They're honestly, like if you were doing a top 25 purely off of resume and not like program prestige or what we thought about the teams before the season, would probably be A&M number 1, Indiana number 2, Ohio State number 3, just because A&M has the better wins and Indiana has a better win against Oregon than Ohio State. Those are the clear top 3, and I get why Ohio State's number 1. But if you were doing it off pure resume rankings, I think A&M's probably number 1. So that loss continues to age better for Notre Dame. A win that is aging pretty well, and I'm really curious to see how this is evaluated, is Arkansas.
Yeah.
Because I get Arkansas's 2-6, but it has been competitive in every SEC game it's played, including against some good teams. And it would have been really helpful for Notre Dame if they didn't, piss down their leg against Auburn. I was trying to find a non-rated R way to say that probably failed. If they didn't blow a fourth quarter lead and give up 17 unanswered in the fourth quarter against Auburn, that would have been great for Notre Dame. But I still think like it seems weird to call a win over 2-6 Arkansas a quality win, but Notre Dame had a way easier time with Arkansas than some really good SEC teams are having. Like Tennessee is a good team. Ole Miss is a good team. They really they almost lost to Arkansas. So I'm really curious to see how that win gets evaluated.
By the way, Boise State keeps winning, and they're at the top of the Mountain West Conference, and Mountain West is not that good this year, but there's 4 6-win teams in that conference right now, and Boise State's at the top. So if Boise State didn't piss down their legs, Jack, and completely crap the bed there in the season opener against South Florida, we'd be talking about Notre Dame beating Boise State by 3 touchdowns as a really, really good win. Again, college football playoff team last year. That quarterback's back. I really like their head coach. So, like, some of these wins could end up looking better at the end of the year than they did at the time of them happening, because I think Notre Dame sent Boise State down to like 3-2 at the time. And it was like, all right, yeah, Boise State's going to end up 7-5. No, Boise State might run the table and go 10-2 and win the Mountain West, like that's a legit possibility there. So I think the last 90 seconds of this conversation, we just have to kind of turn it to the fact that Notre Dame is the number 12 team in the country in both of the major polls that are out right now. Very curious to see because the committee can kind of stray sometimes and rank teams differently than the coaches and the AP do. So where they come in, Notre Dame next week matters a lot more than where we've seen them every Sunday. But Jack, that rise, you cannot it's right there in front of you. Notre Dame is number 12 in these polls, like I'm saying, clear path to the top 10. And I was completely wrong after the A&M game because I was saying, okay, even if Notre Dame ran the table, I have no idea what their odds would be to get into this college football playoff. It's pretty evident to me now that if they're 10-2, they're in. It is what it is.
Yeah, I'd say so as well, unless we get some shocking consistency with the teams ahead of Notre Dame. For what it's worth, should point out that the rise stopped this week because Notre Dame didn't play and every team ahead of them won, including Miami, by the way. Miami got back on track against Stanford, 42-7 win. So it's obviously not huge for Notre Dame that Miami killed Stanford, but obviously good to see that, at least for now, the Louisville game was an anomaly. You mentioned the Boise State game. Group of 5 playoff race is suddenly really fun since, sorry, Mike, Memphis defeated USF. And I mean, before that, everyone thought, oh, USF has the upper hand, but now it's is it the winner of the American? Is it Boise State now have a chance again? It's going to be fun, a fun November on that front.
Okay. I do want to get your guys' opinion on something. I actually wrote this up and was going to post on the message board, and I was like, I'm just going to get flamed, so I'm not going to post on the message board. I'll let YouTube comments do it. Okay. So I saw this from Joel Klatt. This is his current CFP bracket prediction. He's got, the buys being Ohio State, A&M, Indiana, Bama.
Pretty evergreen, yeah.
Yeah. And then Miami in the 5. So there's your ACC champ. Georgia in the 6, okay. Texas Tech in the 7. Ole Miss in the 8. Hosting Tennessee, so he's liking Tennessee, which you look at their schedule, I think they have Vandy and Florida or something like that. They can win out. This is pretty SEC heavy, but there's Oregon in the 10.
Speaking of Vandy should be in there.
So he doesn't have Georgia Tech. He's got Georgia Tech faltering, which if you look at what the committee did last year with SMU, right? That second loss is in the ACC championship game. So if you look at Georgia Tech, if they lose to Georgia and then lose to Miami in the ACC title game, they would still get in, right? So I'm looking at this.
Unless they get blown out in those games, but yeah.
Unless, they get totally embarrassed. He's got USF still in the 12. All right. I don't know about that right now, but okay. He's got Notre Dame in the 11, which you think about schools like Cincinnati, BYU. There's other teams out there that are still potentials. If the committee thinks like Klatt here, there is a potential that Notre Dame could run the table and get left out. I saw this and I was like, shit, I don't know. Am I crazy?
I'll let Jack speak because I'm so bad at these because this is a projection, right? This is
yes.
This is based on what is going to happen over the next month. I'm so bad at that. I don't know. Go ahead, Jack.
I think what projections like this do, and not to the fault of Joe Klatt or anyone else doing a player projection, but they assume that no one loses a game they shouldn't. And we have seen over and over again, especially this time of year, especially in conferences as competitive as the SEC and the Big 12 for that matter, upsets do happen and they will happen. So I think at this point, it is a safe assumption that enough upsets happen among the teams ranked ahead of Notre Dame that Notre Dame gets in without much of a struggle. If the last 4-5 weeks of the regular season are chalkier than we expect, then it could get a little hairy depending on where. Again, it all depends on what we find out on Tuesday, what the committee thinks of Notre Dame right now.
Jack made a good point about the upward mobility stopping too, because I'm looking at the rankings right now. If Miami's the team ranked right ahead of Notre Dame in the AP poll, if they lost again, do they stay ahead of Notre Dame because they beat Notre Dame and they would both be 2-loss teams? My biggest question is, once some of these teams ranked ahead of Notre Dame start taking their second loss, does Notre Dame hit a ceiling and they're they can't go ahead of these other 2-loss teams? Like Vanderbilt. if Vanderbilt lost close to a team that I won't mention on this podcast this weekend on the road, does Vanderbilt stay ranked ahead of?
Vanderbilt's losing to Texas.
Does they stay ranked ahead of Notre Dame though? Does like a 2-loss Oregon, Ole Miss, do they all stay ahead of Notre Dame? That's where it gets dicey for Notre Dame. Like Notre Dame has this blockage of not being able to move ahead of other 2-loss teams because those 2-loss teams are in conferences or they've played. Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know what that is because here's another spin zone of that. I would take Notre Dame's 2 losses ahead of probably any collection of 2 losses that you can throw at me. Like what 2 losses are better, so to speak, than any of the 2-loss teams that Notre Dame's going to be up against?
We saw last year that the committee just really did not hurt teams who lost in a conference championship game. So that's definitely something. I mean, you just look at all of these teams that are still like in play.
Yeah.
USC still in play. Houston is 7-1. The team that Tyler's not allowed to mention, but I will. Texas. The team that Jack is not allowed to mention, but I will. Missouri still in play. Oklahoma. 7-1 Cincinnati. 6-1 Louisville. How about Virginia? 7-1 Virginia. BYU is not in class. They're undefeated. Vanderbilt's not. Georgia Tech's not.
Shout out former future Irish Bear Buckmeyer.
It's really interesting. Now, with all that being said, I do think Notre Dame's going to get in for the great point that Jack made, and I think we all agree, but it still is not a lock.
That's fair. And I think what Klatt kind of opened my eyes to it and probably needs to open everyone else's eyes to with that projection, as much as it's not a lock, Notre Dame needs to be prepared for. And Jack mentioned it earlier in the show too.
Is that a plane? Hold on, Jack. Is that a plane that just went over you?
Yeah, it is.
Oh my God. It was either that or something else. And I'm very glad it was a plane. Go ahead, Tyler. Sorry.
Oh my gosh. Notre Dame fans need to be prepared for the double-digit playoff seeding ranking. Like, even if they went out and they look great doing it, 10 or 11, like Klatt put there, is very possible. And hey, man, as working media, that'd be fun. I would love to go on the road for a CFP game and cover that.
Yeah.
I would love that. As long as it's a cool location, ideally somewhere we could drive.
So here's the last 2 comments we have. We should love that bracket, and that path is good for Notre Dame. At Georgia?
Yeah,
we love that.
At Georgia. Know. And then, like, you guys don't understand how good Indiana is right now. I know last year the playoff games is stuck in your mind, but this is a much better Indiana team.
I forget who I was listening to, but like they laid out all the reasons that this Indiana team is different. And I kind of alluded that earlier in the show. When Indiana came in here last year at the end of like their first season of being legit, I was like, okay, you're legit, but Notre Dame is legit-er. Like they're still better than you, and it proved out that way. This year, I'm not so sure. I think Indiana can play on that same level. They just couldn't last year.
The top 2 on every Heisman poll is Simpson and Mendoza right now.
Yeah.
I saw Nicole Arbach had Jay Love at 3.
Yeah.
Like to see that. That Heisman moment is such a big thing.
Yeah.
With Notre Dame's November, I just don't know if you're going to get a Heisman moment against Stanford.
I do really want to put a non-quarterback. I've seen all the polls that were like the top 10 Heisman contenders are all quarterbacks. And I just hate that so much.
Yeah, I think he should get an invite to New York. He might, Tyler.
If they send like 5 people, I know they sent 3 before. That would be tough. But if you sent 5, J Love better be one of those 5.
Yeah. All right. Well, fun discussion to end. I'm glad that you guys are on the same page as me. I think like when you actually look at this and have a discussion, and it's like, okay, it's not a lock. It's likely if you run the table, you're in. But like, heck, I was thinking, maybe Notre Dame will host. Maybe
we'll learn a lot on Tuesday, right?
We will learn a lot on Tuesday.
On Tuesday.
At that point, it's like they set the foundation, and it's pretty simple. Like the teams above you, if they lose, there's a decent chance, even if you have the same amount of losses, that Notre Dame will be ahead of those teams with the quality of losses that Notre Dame has. It's such a weird term, but I think that, yeah, if like a Miami gets a second loss, I think it's possible that Notre Dame could even be above them. Like it is. So, but we'll see. We'll see. So
It became like when Notre Dame went 0-2, our message board and social media and everything became inundated with, here's what we need to root for Notre Dame to get into the playoff. We will know much better when these rankings come out. Like, oh, okay, nope, it's that team that needs to go down and that team needs to beat that team and so forth. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah.
November's where you make your push. Like this is
November is going to be a fun time on a lot of fronts.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to pull up my like to-do list and make sure that I don't have something stupid in my personal life going on next Tuesday. And I don't. So we will be live right after the rankings show gets dropped next Tuesday. And it'll definitely be enhanced. And I'm sure one or if not both of these guys will be on with me, and we'll have a full-on reaction to that. So that's going to be a ton of fun. Make sure you hit the thumbs up on this video if you have not done so yet. Our next live show will be tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern time. Myself and Kyle Kelly will talk some Notre Dame football recruiting. Friday, we'll have our prediction video out. Saturday, I'll be live after the game. I'm pretty sure with Robbie Toma. As Robbie always likes to say, he has a couple. He'll have a couple of beers during the game, so he's always loose and fun. So that'll be a good time for the post-game show. Sunday, Blue and Gold Staff Roundtable, 4 p.m. Eastern time. So we'll be locked and loaded on this channel, so make sure you subscribe if you haven't done so yet. And blueandgold.com is your home for all things Notre Dame football recruiting or football and recruiting coverage. So if you need to scratch that itch more than just these shows, the website is 100% the place to do that. So head to blueandgold.com. Thank you so much for watching or listening. And as always, we will catch you guys next time.